Greetings YouTube, Alan Liu back with another video. Today I have with me Connor Davenport.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's
Thanks for
going good.
thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank
So if
you.
you didn't know, recently we both went to the Age tournament this past weekend in February, and it was, I believe, 67 or 69 players, something like that, almost 70 people, a lot of people. And Connor was able to top four with Teklo, and he was just, this close from having the miracle run to take it all the way. So I brought him on to talk about Teklo a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked. Love the deck, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, so let's just start with maybe when did you start playing Fab, why, how do you enjoy the game, and why Teklo of all heroes?
Yeah, I started playing around Crucible of War. I was just like kind of over Magic, and there were a bunch of like little card games that were picking up, and Flesh and Blood just seemed like the most interesting. So I just started playing it then, and then yeah, ended up like really falling in love with the game. Like the play style and the class identity and stuff just really resonated with me. Um, yeah, and then for Teklo, I guess I started playing him like right when the set came out. Like the night everyone was opening boxes, I tried to pick up as many pieces for the deck. Once they revealed Singularity, I just knew like this was it. I was definitely gonna play this hero. He just
This is the
has,
deck.
yeah, it's such a sick card, and you read the effects and like what it does, and you get it. It just is absolutely insane. It has a pretty like mid-rangey play style, which I enjoy because I play Ryanar usually. So yeah, you're just like really reactive, kind of adapting to what your opponent does, and then when you find key pieces that you need to push your win condition, you just kind of swap over and go. So yeah, that's a little bit about yeah my history with the deck.
Nice. So you started in Crucible. Wow, that's even before I started. So you've been around
Really?
a while. Yeah, I
Yeah, a
started
little
in
bit.
Monarch.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a good time too.
Yeah, not too much after. But yeah,
Right.
so let's look at the deck. I guess for people who don't know, Teklo is basically a hero that has these Evo cards where you basically transform your or you evo your equipment into these upgraded forms, and you can keep evoing on top of them, etc., etc. I think everyone knows that the blue Majestic Suite is pretty good. They're block threes, they're blue, and they're tempered three. But
Oh
let's
yeah.
talk about some notable things first. So first of all, you have the full 8 suite of base equipment. You have the Protos, which are just blank, and you have the Cogworks ones. Let's go through a bit your reasoning why you picked these 8 instead of maybe like the Blade Break ones, or maybe only even having like 2 extras here or there, something like that.
Yeah. When I started playing the deck, I was on the Blade Break, just because it was a cold foil set. They look cool, but they don't really do much. They don't. You're never gonna use the effect on the Cogworks or the Blade Break one. And the Blade Break is just a liability if you happen to play against a dash and they're just T-boning you like turn
Hmm.
zero.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nightmare. So you're just gonna play the Proto or the Cogworks anyways, just to minimize that liability.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, these
but
ones.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But they're all just base equipment that you need. They don't really have to do much. But I'm playing all 8 just in case. Like earlier when I was playing the deck and just figuring out like how to, I don't know, play against other heroes, I would make like small mistakes. So against like Azuri, I would send like an equipment to block like I don't know a random card, and then they swap into already dead, and it's just like
Hmm.
punished, stuff like that. And so having the extra proto base just makes sure I don't lose the game on the spot if they destroy it. I can just fabricate back an equipment, and then same with like Dromai, I can get back equipment if they tumultai. That's pretty much it. I don't think it's entirely necessary, and I think like as I figure out the deck a little better and how I want to play into certain matchups, these could just be swapped for, I don't know, anything at this point. Anything better for sideboard slot.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, like, you look at a lot of heroes and they might have like a different weapon or a different chess piece based on the matchup. But with Teklo, you're kind of doing your thing over and over, so those slots are
Right.
basically just backups. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. pretty
And
much.
and so Teklo leveler for the most part is the main weapon, right? And then
Mhm.
you know, synergizes with your evos. Um, I as- I assume for some matchups you're not even attacking too much. You're just kind of, it's just there if you have cards, and then
Right.
eventually you're gonna go into the singularity, and well, your weapon's gonna be gone anyways. But
Exactly. Yeah, the leveler, it actually fits this like cost curve that's pretty important where you want to be paying for resources every turn.
hmm
So you want to pitch like one of your red overpower cards and then a blue. And you just want to alternate that like pretty much every single turn. So if you're either playing an Evo for 4 or you're playing a leveler and then attacking with like a 3 attack card.
hmm
Um, and then that way, like you're able to pitch stack the overpower cards, which are pretty crucial to uh, winning in the end game.
yeah,
So it's like the leveler. It's just nice. Yeah, it's like an easy outlet to just put a resource in, like do a little bit of chip. But the chip isn't like entirely necessary. It's more just like yeah, this like 4 resource cost curve ends up being like pretty important for setting up the end game, which is how I'm playing the deck. So.
yeah, makes sense. I
Mhm.
think moving on to our next notable cards slash non cards, you're not running any of the red base evos, which are
No.
something like this one. You know, red 2 cost, 2 battle worn. It's still a base, so you can evo it on top of a blue, on top of another red, etc. And if you're evoing it on top of a blue, you get like the bonus effect. So, what was your thought process behind not running the red ones?
Right. Honestly, it's just testing against aggro. You just do not want to have 2 block cards. You don't want to have a lot of reds either that aren't doing anything for you. These they do like activate the blue Evo effects, which is cool, but not really necessary until you flip into singularity. And a lot of the times, yeah, you just have like 2 blocks in hand that actually hurt you more than they benefit. I think there's some scenarios where having like one of each is like cool, but in testing, yeah, like decks like Bolton in particular, and Fi and Katsu, it was just like a liability to have these. And
hmm
whenever you draw them, it ends up being the worst time. So it's just better have 3 blocks or D reacts instead. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that, you know, even if you are able to evo these, for example, you're still spending 2 cards to
right.
basically get 3 blocks value out of them, and I guess that's just, you know, too much of a downside sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about fabricate. This was people called this the Codex of Frailty for Teklo, or no, the Art of War for Teklo, something like that.
Right, right.
But a lot of people, including myself, when the card was spoiled and came out, thought it was like, you know, very powerful. But you're only running 2, so why is that?
Yeah, I mean, it is an insane card, but you don't want to have too many of them. I don't think it's like completely necessary because you're gonna just play, usually both of them you're gonna put under an Evo, and then counting the 4 Evos you already have, and then those two, you'll have like a perfect even number of soul. And if you have like a third that you're putting under an Evo, then you'd have to play one more Evo on top. Um, which is just not like a big problem, but it's also like you don't want to draw them early because they don't do much, and you don't want to pitch them away in case you've already pitched your singularity and then you flip. You don't want to draw fabricate on a 3 intellect hand.
hmm
So it's like 2 is like a good number where you just keep one in arsenal so that you can do your big flip turn and then have one like earlier to like banish an Evo or something,
hmm
and kind of accelerate your like building your mech suit. But yeah, it 3 just didn't feel entirely necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
And then let's talk quickly about the pistol induction package.
Right.
This is, you know, I would assume likely for matchups where, like Dromai or maybe even Prism, where you need to clear some auras, you need to clear some dragons, some angels, things like that. Are there any other matchups where this type of induction pistol comes in?
I put it in for Kano, just
For the
because,
AB3, yeah.
yeah, and you're just not gonna get your Evos out anyways, so you might as well just put the pistol in. You have something to shoot right away if you need to.
hmm
But yeah, Dromai and Prism is like the only other reason why I would play it. And obviously, when the pistol comes in for the illusionist, the induction chamber goes in too. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
So looking at the main board, only 68 cards. Probably one of the smallest main boards I've ever seen in a deck.
Oh yeah,
But
it's very
definitely because of all the protos. But if anything, that makes your sideboarding life easier, right? Like the
yeah.
induction chambers and remembrances are matchup specific, so that's already 64. And then that all you got, I assume, is also pretty aggro specific. Or
Right.
or sometimes do you just even board it in for like most matchups just to like board up versus maybe like a guardian or Kasai or something.
Right. I play 62 cards in my main deck, and I never
Mm-hmm.
take any of them out except for Kano.
Mm-hmm.
So everything stays in all the time. The Fabricate is like the two that go over, and then the That'll You Got Remembrance, Induction Chamber, or the six sideboard. And then
Gotcha.
Remembrance, Induction is just going in for Illusionist. It's like the only way to beat the dragons is to like bring your poppers back and then try to fatigue them out. And then That All You Got was like a recent addition because Fi and Katsu are like okay matchups, but they can get tricky. And like Kasai too, I figured, and everyone who's playing Saber,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's like I don't know. It was better than Oasis, which I just took out because Kano felt unwinnable.
Mm-hmm.
So it just didn't feel like there was a point in having that if I could just have That All You Got and like maybe win a wider range of matchups. But even That All You Got is like it's okay, but there's definitely better cards I think after playing this weekend that I would add instead.
Yeah. So since we're talking about that, let's bring this bullet point up a bit. So
Yeah,
I Kano, Dromai, Prism are probably some of your worst matchups in the game. Is that a far cry or no?
that's very true. Yeah, they are.
So the induction and pistol obviously makes a lot of sense for the illusionists because you need to clear sort of like their board
Mhm.
permanence issues. How have you felt the matchup turn if say you didn't have those tools? Does it go from like a 0% to a 5% or like a 0% to a 10%? Like do you even feel like there's a chance even with the pistol chamber?
Yeah, there is for sure. If you can get two induction chambers out early, you're it's like very very winnable for Dromai at least. I think with that being said, there's like it makes a lot of sense to add the third induction chamber in now. Um, I haven't like tested a bunch into Big Dragon Dromai, but like seeing cards like Uvia like be so impactful, it's like you really need to hit 6 damage with the pistol like ASAP.
Hmm.
And if you can clear those, like yeah, the matchup is very winnable. Um, so I would say Dromai is like techable. Prism also. Kano though, like I don't think so. They need to print some AB on some Evos or there's no way.
Yeah, or maybe some Evo that like makes Spellbane Aegis tokens or something like that. Um,
Right.
I think it's interesting because yeah, so Visiatronic only comes in for Kano, I assume.
Hmm.
I don't think there's any other hero doing more than AB1. I guess,
Right.
for example, Runeblades. Are you also putting in Achilles Accelerator and dropping the Singularity plan?
I'm putting in Achilles. I just leave the Singularity in just because it's a block card and I'm trying to run them out of Steam anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's like an idea that's been tossing around where maybe run like two blue T-bone instead of one of the random blues, and then at some point in the game, you can just set up an endgame like T-bone, pop your accelerator, and then singularity new boots in place, and then you can still or fabricate new boots in place and then singularity flip. Uh,
Wow,
that'd be like a long late game grind though, so you have
yeah.
to weather the storm quite a bit.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Singularity cost 6, two blues, fabricate, and then a T-bone blue boost, a 5 card.
Yeah, I
Swing
mean it'd
turn.
be like over 2 turns because you
That
have
would
to
be over
play
two
new
turns.
boots out and stuff.
I
But
see.
you can like set the boots up and banish.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's doable, but you definitely like I can't see you winning against Runeblade without AB.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's pretty necessary.
Yeah. That's probably definitely one of the biggest downsides of Teklo. All the polarizing matchups. Anything that does AB,
Yeah,
your win percentage goes down drastically. Your whole game plan basically changes.
right.
Like half of the deck functions at 50% capacity if you don't have all four evos. Um,
Yeah, but with that being said, all the other matchups that don't
mhm.
need AB are pretty good. There's no bad matchup really. Everyone's pretty fair. And then there's a lot of matchups too that are just like feel like auto wins for Teklo. So
Auto wins. Let's. What do you think are
yeah,
some auto wins for Teklo? Let's throw them out there.
anyone who lets him pitch stack is just like, and I feel like brutes are pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, I run like a lot of like I run the D reacts that stop when they're doing blood
The
rush.
hold the lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm just playing like a lot of D-Reacts and stuff and a lot of 3 block and playing pretty slow. So it's like decks that are doing like 1 attack a turn or 2 attacks a turn, um, not doing any like on hits and stuff. I could just block raw damage.
Hmm.
The Guardians are like a very nice matchup for me.
Hmm.
I'll take the Bravos and the Victors. The Betsies
Will you take the
are
Betsies?
interesting. Yeah, we'll we'll take them. But I actually played a Betsy this weekend, and it was
Oh, okay.
pretty close. Yeah,
Okay.
overpower is very strong when your equipment counts as an action card. So
Yeah, so that basically means you can only block with your one action, and then your block cards. You have some block cards,
yeah, and
and
D
your D
reacts and
reacts.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, not being able to block with your armor is definitely a big one. Does Mecro-potent count as an action?
no,
No, so you
he's
could block with him to stop overpower with a card. Okay.
right.
So yeah, I think that's super funny that Betsy's overpower mechanic is actually like extremely impactful into Teklo, but like
Relevant, right? I
yeah,
like
but
that
less
one.
relevant than dominate into basically every other matchup. So basically the brutes, the guardians. How do you feel about like warriors?
Yeah, Warrior's another one that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't mind, at least like Dorinthia, I don't mind. Bolton is a little different, depending on what list they play. But in general, like the Raiden one, it's pretty close. It's like, yeah, maybe around 50-50. Just from maybe the people that I play with are like insanely cracked. But like Ryan from OC,
Hmm.
destroys me with Bolton, and then other people, it's like pretty close. Uh, Kasai, I just played her for the first time. I had no idea what she did, but
But you
I
got
think
there.
she,
That was an
yeah,
insane game. He got the Ray's army, and when he played Ray's army, I was like, oh god, is it over for
yeah,
Connor? But you got there. I was like, oh my god,
it was
the
close.
Mecro
Yeah,
potent is real.
I think that deck is fine too. I think it's Dorinthia that's like probably the better one. It
Yeah.
feels really hard to lose to Dorinthia with Teklo, but
Yeah, just because you have so much armor block, you're not turning on reprise, and her whole
right,
sort of
exactly.
mechanic is similar-ish to Bravo, where like if you aren't able to cover up her damage effectively, then it gets difficult. Um,
Yeah,
let's talk about sort of like the quote unquote aggro matchups, like the ninjas, even Azalea. You can somewhat consider to be more of an aggro deck because if you're not disrupting her, she'll death dealer arrow for 14 every turn
yeah,
type of thing.
exactly.
Um, Bolton can be played as an aggro deck with like Raiden or Sabers, as you said. Anything else that constitutes like very aggressive would be maybe like
I think Lavia.
Levia and
Uh,
KO are more on the aggressive side of the brutes, but as you said, for you're on the more comfortable side for brute, just because it seems as though they can't necessarily convert hand after hand after hand. They do need to set up a little bit. When they set up, that's when you can set up, and you're also
right.
perfectly fine with just blocking out. Levia can die to herself. KO can just have awkward turns sometimes. But yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, but going back to it, how do you feel about like the ninjas and the azaleas?
Yeah, I honestly think they're fine. It depends on your draws, really. Like, how quickly you find your evos. If you can get them into your like discard pretty quickly, you can start scrapping and getting them online. If you're like missing like 1 or 2 pieces for like half of the game, it can be like pretty hard to come back because you need to use your life in the early game to play all these evos out,
Hmm.
and then once you lose that life buffer, it's really hard to like find space to play these evos out and then do like the flip and everything. So they're challenging. But I do think like you have the disruption and you have like the block to stop. I think like Katsu might be the easiest of the three, and then Azalea is not bad either. But it's just really depends on variance. Otherwise, I would say it's like very even split. Um, yeah, it's definitely like not leaning in either deck's favor.
Do you have any words for Evan, who got a 40 zeroed by Azalea?
Hey, I played Zane in the last round of Swiss, and I also got 40 votes.
Really?
Yeah.
But you just said Azalea was fine.
She's fine. She's fine. But the month before, I played an Azalea, and it was the total opposite. Like,
Hmm.
sometimes you get the cards you need early. Like, if you think of it, like you get, an Evo turn 0 or 1, and then an Evo like 1 to 2 turns later. Every arrow that they shoot now, you have like 5 to 6 free block, and then you'll just keep playing an Evo after that.
Hmm.
So, um, you're able to stop, like if they can't set up a big dominate, you just block with cards from hand, and if they do set up a big dominate, you just throw your armor out, and they're not really getting on hits. You could just keep blocking all game, and then once you have your full set of evos, you just flip, play a warmongers or something, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yep.
So once you flip, it's over. So it's pretty, yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I think also that just goes into the fact that you're only running the blue evos where it's 12 cards in deck. For example, turn 0. That's, I don't know, probably somewhere around like the 65-ish% to hit one on your turn 0.
Mhm.
Maybe even more. I'm not sure, but
Right.
there definitely can be those games where they're all in the bottom half of your deck. That can just happen.
Yeah.
Let's.
Especially like, yeah, if you're not shuffling a lot, you're gonna have like your big stack of evos when you transform, and then they're
Mhm.
just clumped.
Yeah,
That definitely happens sometimes. So
yeah. It definitely seems like for this deck, when you transform, having a good idea of what is in like the latter half of your deck is quite impactful as well.
hmm yeah,
Let's
super important.
let's talk about sort of your matchups. Um,
Yeah,
this was your age run where you were able to get top 4. So, Dorinthia, you said was pretty good. Did I misspell?
yeah.
I misspelled Dorinthia. So you said Dorinthia was pretty good. Dromai, as you said, difficult matchup. Was this the same Dromai you lost to in top 4 or a different one?
No, it wasn't. This was April from San Diego. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a very different matchup. Like I didn't see any induction chambers. The game was over in like a couple turns. Yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially with
mhm.
Dash, you can start with induction chamber, but Tekla, you gotta find it, which is
Right.
definitely
Yeah. So
annoying.
I'm just killing like one dragon a turn and then like popping something, and eventually, they get an army. You can't do much about it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Uh,
Um.
Betsy KO Bravo. So as you said, the Brutes and the Guardians perfectly fine for you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
were any of these particularly close, or do you think like would you rather play into a KO or a Bravo, for example?
Right. Bravo's the best matchup I think for Teklovossen. It's I played against Charles Dunn's like Fatigue Bravo too.
Hmm.
So pretty much like the entire game was just like I got to pitch stack my deck, and then once I did the flip, and like I got a lot of Evos stacked up. I had a big soul, and then he was just doing like I think he did one like dominated crippling crush, and I just put all my armor in front of it, and
Hmm.
then everything else was just hammer. So I just like block with one card, set up an Evo, block with one card, and then like send like Terminator tank or something. And so just like get all his D reacts out, and then towards the end game, it ended up being very close, um, just because like I was running out of soul, running out of like overpower, and if he could just live through like one or two more, I think he would have been in the clear. Um, but I like restacked my deck to make sure that I would be able to overpower and then send the 6 with the discard.
Hmm.
And it was like just enough. I think if he had like a sigil or something, maybe he would have been fine, but it was very close, yeah. But that's usually the good matchup.
Hmm.
And then the KOs, that was my first time testing against KO, and it ended up being like really good. I don't know. The matchup seems pretty good for Teklo. You just block, and then they often like get hurt by variants. There's so many like random draw discard effects that they could whiff or like roll scabs without gamblers, get like 3 action points, and they save like a 4 card hand to do one thing.
Hmm.
Um, so that happened quite a bit. And then the Betsy match was the one that ended up being like pretty surprising. It would be like put a D-React in Arsenal to stop a overpower, and then they like put your money where your mouth is, the like +3 wage of gold, and then CNC for 10, and I
Hmm.
can only block with one card. Like lose my D-React and like a bunch of life. And that ended up happening a couple times. So I ended up being like, I think it was like 14 to like 36 or something. And then I was able to
Wow.
flip to Singularity and then come back. But that one was close, yeah.
Yeah, and then your top 8 match, I think if anyone wants to watch a great game of Flesh and Blood, I would say watch this one. This one was insane.
Yeah.
Colin, once again, top 8ing. You know, he did it last month on Bravo. He does it this month on Kasai. And he only started playing a few months ago, and he's already popping off. Kasai is a new hero. It makes sense that, you know, maybe Teklo has some advantage points there because you're not particularly looking to attack every turn, so she's not really getting that Valiant Dynamo value that she would get in a lot of other matchups. A lot of times they can just sit there. You can, you know, prioritize blocking out all the copper generation, all the gold generation to really stop her explosive turns. But, you know, you can't stop them all. You still have to progress your own game plan. And then eventually, you know, when you do flip, it's a question of can they survive? Do they have enough cards? Do you have enough cards? Can they come back from the 3 intellect penalty that you get, et cetera, et cetera? Any other notes on your top 4? I guess Dromai you also kind of talked about a bit. Tough matchup.
Yeah.
Doesn't always go the way you want it to. And
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, they were both great games. The Kasai game was, crazy. I was doing some mental gymnastics that whole time. It was such a crazy game. But shout out to Colin. Yeah, he's awesome. A lot of fun to play with. The Dromai game, yeah, also, I mean, I wasn't expecting too much. I was like, I'm either playing Dromai or Kano, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But Dromai, yeah, probably more entertaining than Kano, because Kano I wouldn't have done much. But yeah, I mean, it was good considering everything. I think it's kind of obvious. Once they just stack up dragons, you miss one popper and then the game pretty much ends. So that's like maybe a point of I don't know, putting in like down and dirty or something, saving a popper for when it's like necessary, and maybe trying like a new game plan, like trying to set up your singularity is maybe a possible thing. And then, yeah, just trying to pop the dragon. It's just a question of like once you flip and you're at 3 intellect, can you make sure they're losing enough cards that they can't just swing 20 dragons out? Because you can't afford to like use 6s to pop because you need to kill them. So. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's also you're not like in Guardians or Brutes, unfortunately, where you can have 6 power blues. But so if you even get to that sort of second cycle and you didn't like Remembrance Shuffle or something like that, then you're just like definitely out of poppers. So that can be rough for sure.
Real.
Are you siding in like Sinks and Fates for Dromai, for example? Because it's nice to cover like a 4, like if they play. If they're more red line and they play like Blaze Headlong or something, or if they play Dust Up, or, you know, if they have a Kyloria with Miragai behind it or passing, but also if they play out at the Mai, then it gets really awkward. So how do you feel about the D-Reacts in the matchup?
Right. I leave them all in. The Thamai is fine because you can just, if you have one induction chamber out, you can just kill it the next turn. But it's not the end of the world. But yeah, generally like the Sinks and Fates cover a lot. Like Snatches and yeah, the Blaze Headlongs and the Dust Ups, Pyloria and stuff. They have a lot of 4 breakpoints, and they have a lot of 7s too that you don't want to pop. Or not a lot. They have a 7 attack Phantasm card that you don't want to pop. So covering it with a 3 and a Sink is pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, it's also just like a matchup I'm trying to fatigue. So I want to have as many cards as possible anyways. And then, yeah, and it's, yeah, if I take them out, it's just like slightly less deck. So I don't know. I think for now it's fine.
Yeah, it is what it is type of thing. Like there's matchups where it's like you have no shot of winning. You got to do, you know, the fatigue strat or the whatever strat that gives you that, you know, 10% chance or something, right?
Right, exactly.
And then if you know, maybe if you had played a different hero and you got to the potential finals and rematch with Charles, you could have been the hopeful the age champion on Teklo, which would have been cool to see.
Sweet.
But
yeah, I think Charles wanted to play that matchup too, and I think he would have done great. I don't know, like
he might have improved from the last time.
Yeah, he definitely like saw, I don't know, like setting up a like endgame that just D-reacts all day until I run out of steam. It's like definitely a thing. So, yeah, I think he wanted the rematch, but maybe next month.
Yeah, because there are the 8 overpower cards, basically like the big hitters once you get to your singularity cycle. And then if you are able to maybe save Remembrance for that, you can up that to another 6. It does get a little awkward because if you draw into a remembrance when you're in your intellect 3 form, it can be awkward.
Right.
But still, if you go like a red, a blue, and remembrance, you can still go like overpower, singularity attack, remembrance, and
Right.
see what happens from there. So you definitely can present a lot of gas for fatigue decks for sure. And overpower gets really tough to block in the late game if they get through all their D-reacts early and they're just stuck with like their 6 attack poppers, their cripplings, their whatevers. But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mecro-potent. For those who don't know, if you have all 4 Evos out, you get to play Singularity. It costs 6. It's a legendary, so you can only have 1 in your deck. If for some reason this gets destroyed, you're very sad. Like if you get CNC'd lunging pressed or something like that. But you transform your hero, your weapon, and all 4 Evos into the Mecro-potent and enters the arena with the same life. So you're basically transforming. And then your weapon and hero, do those also count as soul? So it's an extra even +2, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And assuming you evo at least once, you have 8 soul for your Mecro-potent. Every +2 after that's an additional attack, I believe, because yes, attack, banish 2 cards from your soul. So
Right.
and it costs
so
3.
minimum 5 attacks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So minimum 5 attacks with your hero, weapon, and each of your evos. And then, can be more from there. If you play your 2 fabricates, that's a 6th attack. If you're able to evo an additional 2 times, that's another attack. I think another big thing is that all of the blue evos have an effect when you transform, both when you transform into another evo on top or when you transform into the Mecro-potent. So let's just run through them really quickly. They each give a bonus if you transform into another base, and the bonus is doubled if it's Singularity. So for the boots, you get an action point. So when you transform to Singularity, you get 2 action points. The chest piece, you gain 3 resources normally, 6 resources for Singularity. The head, you get +1 intellect, +2 for, once again, Singularity. And then controller, you may put an attack action card with 6 attack from your graveyard into your deck, 5th from the top. And if it's the Singularity, you do that twice instead. So you're stacking your 5th and 6th card. And then if you have the headpiece also, then you're drawing into those 5th and 6th cards. So what in general are you, trying to look to set up sort of when you're going for this Singularity play?
Right. So the pitch stack is you're pitching Singularity. You're doing like 2 blues under it, a blue on top of it, and then whatever the other card is doesn't really matter. And then for your flip, or after you pitch Singularity, you want to pitch a 6 attack overpower, and then 2 blues, and then an overpower and 2 blues, and alternate like that. And so once you end up flipping and you put the 2 in, depending on what your stack is, you're either going to take the War Machine, or double War Machine, or a double Terminator tank, depending on the matchup. And then if you know that you don't have enough blues to do all of that, you'll put in a red Liquid Cooled Mayhem, which is just a 0 for 6 go again. Because on your flip, or like the turn that you have 5 intellect, you want to do 3 attacks if you can. And that has some context too, but most of the time, yeah, you want to do 3 attacks and push as much damage as possible. And then after there, your pitch stack should be 2 blues and a 9 overpower every single turn until the game's over.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. That's all you're trying to set up. And it's fairly straightforward and easy. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't work out like that. You can't get the 6 overpower in there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other attacks you can be weaving in. Like Mechanical Strength is probably the next best one. It's like 7 go again once you're flipped. So it's not bad. Yeah.
One thing I also is that on the turn you transform into Singularity, sort of the arms and the head sort of play into your next turn, where you get the +1 or 2 intellect, and then you get the you get to stack your deck. But whereas the chest and the boots play on the turn you transform, correct? So you're getting the 6 resources and 2 action points. So best case scenario, you have Singularity and Arsenal, and you have a 4 blue hand, correct? Or something along those lines, because then you get the 6 resources, you get 2 action points, so you could on the turn you transform swing Teklovossen twice, correct?
Right. Yeah. Usually that's the plan is you want to draw Singularity with two blues, and then usually I'll have a Fabricate waiting in Arsenal, and then all my equipment will have like two block already. So I can Fabricate, block for 8 with all my equipment, block with one more card in hand, and then on my turn I can just use the two blues, the Singularity, and flip. And it's just 12 damage immediately. They have to discard cards before blocks, so you're getting 6 damage through, like absolutely, and then
Yeah.
yeah, they're losing their entire hand unless they don't block, and then they take 12. So
And I guess another like dream case scenario is if you don't need to block at all before you transform. You have the Singularity, two blues, and then maybe if you just have like a War Machine and another blue in hand, so you can go like 9
Oh,
overpower into 6. That's what is that? 20? No, can I math? 21.
yeah, 21.
21
Yeah,
damage turn
it'd be insane.
on the turn you transform. And then
Right.
the Mecro-potent also has 6 battle worn, which is once
Very
again
awesome.
mathing.
Yeah,
7.
it's so good.
It's a lot of life.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's pretty insane.
I think one thing I wanted to talk about for the Mecro-potent is that at least the impression I got in the sort of, what's the word, when the card was spoiled, or like the first impressions when Bright Lights came out, was that if you're not pressuring your opponent a lot when you transform, like let's say they're at 40 life, right, and you do get that 21 damage turn, you get them down to 19, you have, I guess it's like almost like a 2-turn finisher, right? Because the next turn you'll have the 6 intellect, you can go for another big play. But if they're able to survive that, does it get a little dicey? Like even if you have the stack of a 9 overpower and a blue and things like that, can it get a little dicey just because with the 3 intellect you're gonna churn through your deck eventually and you might not get there? Has that ever happened?
No, I've never. I don't think I've ever lost a game after I flip.
Wow.
That Kasai one was pretty close, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever have. It's usually you flip and then it's over. It's very, very hard. I mean, if you pitch stack your deck and you're going through your second cycle, like you usually have everything you need. It's possible that they're running all the D reacts, they have the life gain, and then they can just like weather through. Because once you're out of attacks on your hero, they just have to block your overpowers, and then it's over. You don't have a weapon, and then yeah, you just send your attacks. They just block them out, and then they can just weapon you to death. But I don't know. It's pretty difficult because yeah, you're the first turn you flip, you're doing like usually 12 or like 6 damage, and then they'll block with everything. Then your turn after, you're going 9 go again, 9 go again, 6 with on hits. You're usually like killing their arsenal, killing a card in hand, and then they have to discard before blocks on the 6. You're getting like another, I don't know, 24 damage in, and then every turn after that is just 9 overpower 6, and they're gonna lose their entire hand. So you're usually able to fatigue them, even if they're ahead on deck at that point, because they're just losing their hand, and you're only giving up one card every turn. Like you're playing your 9 overpower and you're pitching the other 2, and they're losing 4 cards off of that exchange. So
Yeah. So I guess in that sense, Mecro-potent becomes the best weapon in the game, even better than Anathos. Comes in for 6
very good.
and discard a card. Very good.
Right.
I think one other. Actually, let's go into. We already talked a bit about the good and bad matchups. In general, like the sort of mid-range ones are quite good. Aggro ones can get a little dicier, but still not terrible. And then the arcane and illusionists are rough. Arachne, has that ever felt a little awkward for you? Because, they're looking at the top of your deck. Maybe they see an Evo, they bottom it. Or they say Singularity, they bottom it. Or maybe they even banish your Singularity off a contract.
Right.
It's a very niche matchup. I'm not sure if you've even played it more than like once, but...
Right. I've only played it like once or twice. And I did fine in it. I do think, like, yeah, there is the chance that they see the Singularity, they have the attack reaction, and they just get it. Even at that point, the game is still winnable because you're still going like 9 overpowers, are pretty hard to deal with. And your fatigue game, I mean, the weapon is phenomenal. It's 1 resource for 3 go again. So you'll get there. Heavy artillery is another card that once you're like deep into 3rd cycle and all they have left are like their random blue like contract attacks, you could just finish the game with a couple of those. So it's definitely like not impossible. I mean, Arachne is a little slower too of a deck, so you can get there for sure without it.
Yeah,
But.
and I think most most assassins aren't on like scale peeler or anything anymore, so they're not really. Oh, actually no, it works on. Do they
They
have
all have the
non-attack action?
piercing or whatever,
Is it the what's the
the daggers and stuff.
Orbitoclast? Does that work on Evos? Do
Yeah, it
these?
does.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah,
non-attack actions, correct? Yeah,
that does work. Yeah.
so that
I
can be a
think
little awkward. But
honestly, it's better just to do Spider's Bite and then um, Nerve Scalpel because I
Mhm.
play all the D reacts and then like most of the cards I want to block with are Evos, but you just have more attack action cards anyways.
Yeah,
So
makes sense. All right, so we went through that. Are you tilted every time I put Teklo in the passion project tier? Every tier list you find, Teklo is
yeah,
somewhere in the bottom tier. It doesn't matter where in the bottom tier, he's in the bottom tier. I put him at the top of the bottom tier, to be fair. Okay,
that's nice of you.
I knew he had good matchups. I lose to Teklo all the time on Bravo, but I also know he has very terrible matchups. So how do you feel about the sort of like wider community thought on Teklo and how he's like bottom tier?
Yeah, I mean, I I'm okay with it, I guess. I don't think it's true, but I'm fine if people don't want to, tech into Teklo because I don't want people to be, I don't know, trying to mess up my game plan. But I do see it all the time. There's like Man Sant and all his team and like I don't know, all these YouTube channels and they're like, yeah, where are we gonna put Teklo? And they all laugh about it, like, well, let's just put him in the bottom of whatever tier. He's definitely like insane deck. Um, I don't know. You gotta play with people that play Teklo and you'll understand. The deck has some legs. He has like two really awful matchups, or three, I guess, Prism two, and everything else is just like very winnable. He's insane. He does like the craziest stuff in the game. He plays the game on a totally different axis, so it's very interesting. I don't know. And for all the people that are like super stoked on Teklo, I'm sure they understand what I'm saying when I say that we totally get it that
Hmm.
people don't respect it, but we're all good with that. Yeah, don't want all that Teklo hate in people's sideboards, so works for me.
I think it's funny too because if anything, this might be well. Teklo's only been out for 2 sets. Bright
Right.
Lights was definitely more rough for him because Icelander was a thing,
Oh my god,
um,
yeah.
and I guess Lexi even wasn't amazing either. Actually, no. Well, Lexi maybe is okay. You can probably block a lot and threaten
Yeah,
fatigue, but also threaten singularity. But she does just go really fast. Rain Razor's 3 of a kind. All of a sudden, you're like gonna die. Um,
right.
so now with the meta, trending towards Guardian, towards Brute, towards Warrior, Teklo definitely has a bigger pie to sort of metagame and gem his way through. And for all the
Right.
Teklo gamers and lovers out there, this might be the best time to play the hero because I have an inkling that Arcane's going to come back and it might come back with the Force. And if that happens, I
Yeah,
guess
we're
I
gone.
guess you can't say much about him being in the bottom tier, but
We'll still play him, but yeah, maybe LSS will print, some evos that help, but I don't know.
I mean,
We'll
I,
see.
I think it's funny because like even I play Bravo, right? I think Kano is a really terrible matchup. Like that one age where I beat many Kanos, that was like
Right.
once in a blue moon. That probably is gonna never happen again. But
Oh god.
so the fact that you have some unwinnable matchups, like every hero has that, right? It just
Yeah.
matters, like sort of people will trend towards the most consistent decks, and
Sure. Yeah.
usually those decks will still have auto lose matchups, in my opinion, like Bravo to Kano or Bravo to Iris Prism. But those decks that have the polarizing matchups aren't as consistent across the field. But I guess
Right.
with all the hype on heavy hitters, Teklo has the stonks. The
Right.
last thing I wanted to bring up is, have you tried Boost Teklo?
No. I mean, when I first started playing the deck, I was playing a lot of boost.
Hmm.
I wasn't playing like Liquid Cooled Mayhem. I wasn't playing all the Junkyard Dogs, the Scrap Trader. Scrapping like wasn't a thing. It was like, oh, if you could boost, that's like such big value. And then you realize like it's not. You can boost Singularity. You can boost your sinks. Can't really play all that defensive package. It's kind of awkward. But I do think, you need like two boost cards in this deck at least that you can pitch stack if you are trying to be cute with the Achilles Accelerator. So that's like a thing for sure. But everything else, I don't know. It's cool, but I think just the way I'm trying to play, I want the generics and I want to play around Singularity and just go for second cycle. So yeah, no boost for me.
Yeah, outside of OG Dash, it does seem like Teklo, like this sort of playstyle lends itself to running, D-React's more generic cards because you're not looking to boost, for example.
Right.
But I have played against Teklos too, who run, the full mech suite. It's just boost, boost, boost. If they boost Singularity, who cares? Maybe they still
Right.
get there, and they fat deck because they don't need all this other generic tech. They just have mech cards.
For real.
But yeah, that was, I think, all I had on my docket of topics to. Is that a word?
Right
Sorry.
on, yeah.
So, it is a word. Oh my god. Okay.
Nice.
On my
Saved.
I said
Alan knows
it.
what he's talking
I
about.
said it, and I was
Just
like,
that.
did I just say something dumb? But anyways, that was all on my list. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up this video?
Honestly, no. I guess thank you to everyone who was on the stream. Watched that the day after, and I was reading through the chat, and it was very funny. So I really appreciate the support, and everyone who's stoked on Teklo. Super cool hero, and I love the game. Thanks for everyone who supports AGE. They're an awesome group, and they're putting on some of the best events. So big shout out to SoCal and all that. Yeah.
Sounds good. And then I always like to end my videos with a question. This one will not be fab related. Are you a dog or a cat person?
Oh, I'm a big dog person. Cats are okay,
Okay.
do your thing, but come
Okay.
on.
That's perfectly fair. I think it's more of a stereotype that cat people would be like, dogs are cool too, but I'm more of a cat person. But some dog people will be like, cats suck.
No, we love all
Let me see if I can get my cat in frame. You won't be able to see her, but in the video when you watch it back, you can see.
right? Oh,
Okay. That was my cat. Her name is Chicken.
Chicken.
Yes.
Nice.
For all the comments, yes. Are you a dog or a cat person? And yeah, that is all. Thanks for coming on, Connor.
Thank you for
And
having me,
good
yeah.
luck next month. I hope you win it all, unless you meet
thank
me in the
you.
finals or you meet me.
Oh,
then
yeah.
then I hope. Yeah.
And I hope it's a fair game.
All right, and that is all for this video, and we'll see you guys next time.